Okay, so welcome to the bench. Even though this isn't the bench, it's you know the gist. This is I want to try and keep this a quick video. Uh, Basically, I've upgraded the audio. It took me a while to get it straightened out. I think I have it now, and I want to actually upload a video to see what it sounds like after it's complete, it's loaded, and what you hear when you click on the when you're unfortunate enough to click on the video instead of what I hear. So that's the first thing that I wanted to address. If you're interested in the audio stuff at all, it's an MXL 770 microphone with pop guard and arm. I kind of cobbled the arm from a couple of different components together. It's an actual arm, but I put it on a stand that it didn't come with. It's working really well. And that is going into a Behringer 2-channel mixer that is direct export to USB, which connects directly to the computer. So there was a slight problem with the static guard that it caused a lot of ridiculous hum, which wasn't present the first time I tested it, so I had to go through and check. It just sounded like a ground loop hum to me, and I couldn't figure it out. And then finally, I saw a video, and somebody said, try squeezing on the pop guard, and I did, and lo and behold, it worked. So now that that's working all correctly, I would like to gear the videos. I have my own reason for the audio stuff. When I was trying to grow my knowledge level and learn, going basically working backwards, I started, changing resistors and changing fuses and changing FETs and that kind of thing. I could see that damage, but I actually go through and try and figure out what a circuit is doing. I never really bothered. It just, so when we talked about that in the last video, I went through a phase where I went back and I started to relearn this stuff. And one of the ways that I did that was I would listen. I had a job where I drove a lot, hours at a time, and I would listen to YouTube videos with the screen blackened on my phone. Don't watch YouTube videos and drive. That's dumb. And I could learn a lot from that. And if there was things that I needed the visual cues for, I would just find that video later and go back to that and figure it out. So I learned a lot that way. And I realized that one of the quickest ways to get me to stop watching a video was horrible audio. When you got that scratching, hissing, popping in the back, it just drove me nuts. And I would it could have been really good content, but I just got rid of it. So I want to know what your opinion is on this. What does this audio sound like compared to before with the camera? The camera is a small Lumex, Panasonic Lumex camera that I picked up for nothing because it didn't work. I fixed it, and that is what I use. So that's going to be another challenge, is I don't have live export on that. I can't send everything over to the computer and mix it in one piece of software. I may have to create audio tracks. I don't really know how I'm going to get this accomplished yet. I may have to get a different camera. We'll see. So there's a lot of pokers in the fire when it comes to the production of the videos, because I want to make them better. And I'm trying to get the content streamlined. So I'm going to shut up about this part and move on to the next thing. I'm bad at segues. So you may wonder, well, why are we looking at a power transformer? Isolation, 120 volts AC. I don't want to get into why you need an isolation transformer. That's for somebody who's much better, who's basically an expert, instead of me, who's a hobbyist that just happens to have been doing it for a minute. An incorrect explanation is a bad explanation, and it's, you wind up with really dumb ideas in your head, and I don't want to be the guy that puts them there. Isolation transformers, essentially for the bench, they're kind of a requirement. If you're doing testing on your bench, especially with high voltages, and you don't have an isolation transformer, you're literally begging for an early grave, or at least some damage, at least to your equipment. And basically the isolation transformer is to isolate you from mains voltage so that it's a little bit less damaging should you happen to have an incident. That's the easiest way to put it without getting into a huge explanation about potential and mains, earth, ground. And the problem is there are some isolation transformers on the market that are specifically set up to be bench isolation transformers, and yet they are not electrically isolated. There is a point of contact between the two sides of the coils, essentially through the safety ground of the chassis. So do your own research and go out and there's a lot of good explanations out there as to the different types. And in this case, what I've decided to do is I want to incorporate my Variac, and I already had an isolation transformer, but it kind of gave up the ghost, if you will. So I'm replacing it, and I want to incorporate my Variac, my auto transformer, and my dim bulb set, and the isolation transformer all into the same kind of enclosure, which will probably be wood. I haven't actually decided yet. Just to get it all in one spot on the bench instead of just taking up a bunch of real estate on the end. It's worthless. So that's the next project that I'll be working on. There's a bunch of different projects, and that's part of the reason for this video is just here's what's coming. So this power transformer from Jameco is not the best rated one on the planet, but I actually was able to get it from Jameco on Amazon, and I have Amazon Prime, so therefore there was no shipping, same price. So it saved me $30. So for basically $50, I've got an isolation transformer on the way, and you'll see just for grins and giggles, if this will load. Okay, so here's a benchtop isolation transformer, 450 volt amps. You again look at some videos to see what that means. It's just a different rating because they don't essentially know what kind of load you're going to hook to this. So instead of using giving you a specific output current, different loads will handle different. Will cause currents to change, whether it's inductive or non-inductive or capacitive. It's just going to change this number. So basically, that's where they come up with this 450 volt amps. Again, get into some, do your own research and figure that one out. But you can see right away. Look, it's $100 now. This will handle another 150 volt amps. So it is slightly bigger transformer inside here, but I don't really need that for what I'm doing. For most cases, the other transformer will work just fine. It's again 300 volt amps, and I have seen where some people aren't real happy about this connector. I don't like it either. I would like to see some wires coming out of this sucker that I can just make a direct connection to. But I'll work around this. Not a big deal. I've also seen where people are kind of complaining about that line cord, and I can see why. And there's some other little issues, but for the most part, it is a 1-to-1 transformer for 120 volts, and I'm just going to leave it at that. That is on the way. I'm going to work around some of the design flaws, and we're going to build the isolation transformer, get it all up in the same enclosure. So another thing that I'm looking at is different pieces of equipment. I mentioned that I had bought an oscilloscope because I was hoping to look at some do some signal analysis because it had an FFT function, and I make mistakes, and I'm learning the audio, the radio spectrum, the RF spectrum, the intermediate frequency spectrum. I'm learning this. So if you already know this, you kind of already know what mistakes I might make, and this is one of them. Not this oscilloscope. I apologize. Let's see if I can look at my purchase history here. Don't tell everybody about my purchase history, and don't tell everybody my real name's Edward, because it's just a weird name. Okay, so here it is. This is the LaCroix that I just purchased, and that was the purchase price. I'm full disclosure, coming from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. It's not going to have it's 300 milligrams, 300 megahertz. Geez, English is fun. And it's going to work for a lot of things. One of the things is it's 4-channel. So let's see if we can zoom in on this a little bit. It is 4-channel. And it's 300 megahertz, which is much larger than the 150 megahertz that I have. That's the biggest one that I have on the bench right now. And I need to take that 150 megahertz out of service. It's a Tektronix because it has some issues. And I need to repair it. And I don't really have anything to replace it with. So I think this will make a fairly adequate replacement for that. This is obviously there to do different things, but this is going to help me when I'm working on amplifiers to be able to see that, because it will do okay in the audio frequency, range, but not in the radio and intermediate. I'm definitely going to need a separate standalone spectrum analyzer for that. And I'm trying to come up with a good, reasonable cost, effective enough analyzer that I'm not going to, it's kind of one of the benchmark standards is something like a Stanford Research 760 that it works perfectly, spent its entire life in a smoke-free environment, and grandma only drove on Sundays back and forth to church. You're not going to find that. Most of them have issues, and they're a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, if you can find a good one for less than $800 US, you really did a good job. And that's just not in the budget. When I have all these other pokers in the fire, I can't justify that kind of expenditure, so it's just not going to happen. And that would be, if I can find it at that price, more reasonably, it's probably going to be closer to $1,000 or higher. So that becomes the question to put out to you. If you're getting into the RF, or if you've gotten into the RF, what are you finding that has worked? Can we look at some of that so that we can review it as the rest of the kind of community? And please post that in the comment section. And I know we have an advantage. This is a very small channel with not a lot of subscribers or viewers, and we don't have to worry about the fact that if somebody mentions something on this channel that all of them are going to disappear overnight. That's not going to be a problem here. It's not like if Dave over DVV vlog says, that this is, hi, this is great, try this. Well, they're all gone, in 2 minutes. And if Carlson says something, same thing. X-Ray Tony, it's boom, they're gone. So they have a lot of viewers. They see this stuff and they don't even question it. They have the income to do it, and boom, they buy the thing up. And next thing you know, we have no more supply. So demand goes through the roof. And of course, that's supply and demand. And hello, you're just you might as well buy a house for what it's going to cost for that mixed domain oscilloscope. So again, looking for that kind of equipment. That really, I think that's all I had some other things that I wanted to discuss, but I don't really want to make this video too long. There is a CNC router that's going to come at some point. It's still in the planning process. It has been for quite a while. I have other work that I have to do to make that happen. I made a huge mistake with some lighting above the bench. I bought the wrong light. I wasn't paying attention. Turns out this really nice bright white shop light, which does wonderful under the camera, it only is dimmable through a Wi-Fi connection, which is right over my sensitive equipment that I use to look at radio signals. And yeah, maybe you're connecting the dots on that one. I probably should not have done that, huh? So I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but for right now, it's there. I also have some other board work that I need to get done. I may make some videos on that. I don't know yet. Just kind of some things up in the air, but I don't want to go 9 or 10 months without making another video. We got some of the large issues solved. I think the audio issue is going to be solved for right now. And I may possibly do something different with the camera. I'd had my eye on a camera a while ago and I didn't get it. And of course, now I can't find one. So I'm, going to play it by ear. That's what we do a lot. So, please make sure if you can, I would appreciate comments in the comment section. Tell me how the audio sounds from your end. And if it's not good, could you do me a favor and maybe put in what platform are you using? Are you using Windows? Are you using Android? Are you using Apple? Some type of iSystem? What are you actually? What's the platform? And what is it doing in specific? Is it too quiet? Does it sound off? Is it just any little criticism? In this case, is good. So that's all I've got for you today. We're going to try and get some videos up, especially with this. I have not I haven't taken the chassis out of that radio. If you watch the last video, that the RCA that I bought, I haven't taken it out. It's killing me. I really want to, but I need some more equipment before I start working on it. I've got some stuff I have to get off the bench first. So it's just killing me. Every time I walk through that garage, it's sitting there going, what are we going to do today? Well, we're not going to do anything today. So I haven't looked up any real information on it. I haven't looked at that chassis. I haven't taken it out. I haven't flipped it over. Whatever's under there, I'm going to do this. And I've never done this before. We're all going to find out at the same time. I have no idea what kind of caps are under there. I can tell you it looked pretty clean. On the outside of the chassis, I think I'm going to assume, I know people have been in there. I don't know who. It looks like from the outside, they did a fairly good job, but those looks are often deceiving. So we may flip this thing open and find all kinds of problems with it. And that will probably be the first thing. Is I think I'm going to break that down into some smaller videos. And the first one, we'll just pull the chassis and take a good look at the top of it and see what tubes are there and kind of look at the topology, and then we'll turn it over and look underneath the chassis and see what nightmares lurk. So hopefully it's in decent enough shape. But I would like to see some things that definitely need repaired. I've had that happen to you before, where I've bought a piece of equipment thinking, oh, I can do a cool restoration, not even for a video, just for me to do it. And I've flipped it open and it's already been done, and they did a pretty good job, and I can't really find anything to fix. I get a little sad. I'm like, well, that's kind of why I bought it. I wanted to go through the whole thing. That's how I learn things, is by tearing it apart and fixing it, and going through all the information I can find to make that a good solid repair that works well and continues to work. So I'm hoping we'll have something to repair, but I'm hoping it's not a total nightmare either. And I definitely don't want to get into winding a transformer. You see, that's a little bit of a joke, because it's a transformerless. Never mind. Okay, so until the next video, take care, be nice, and don't mimic the monkey.